5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to another episode of Front Row Chaos. I am your host, Travis Smith, and today is another great episode. We are in the midst of heading into fair time, and fair time around here means that a lot of us have projects, meaning animals, to take to the fair. And we have a lot of things to discuss with projects. Either it's pigs or beef or chickens or turkeys or lambs. There's a lot of options out there for the kids to take to the fair. And I thought it was a good idea to have somebody on who knows a thing or two about the swine market and how to raise quality hogs for the fair. So we're going to have a special guest on today. His name is Pedro Gomez, and he is going to be here with us to talk about what it takes to bring a great pig to the fair and not just a regular pig to the fair. So I have Pedro Gomez on the phone right now with me from Hickman, California. Pedro, welcome to the program.
Hey, Travis. Thanks for having me on. It's an honor.
Hey, man.
Feeling it.
I love to have people on that have an interesting story, and I really can't think of a better person to have on than you. I know I talked to you a little bit about when the show opened about this is fair season for us up here in Northern California, and so we always are getting ready, of course, for the Butte County Fair, and then a host of other fairs will be ready as well. And I want to introduce you to the Front Row Chaos crowd, that you are, I assume, like a pig guru, because you have been killing it yourself with the hogs you've been raising.
Yes, sir. It's been fun. It's been challenging, and it's been a fun ride. Pretty blessed with Eli along my side, and it's been an awesome summer this far.
Well, Pete, let's start off with some general stuff. So, where were you born at? Where did you go to school?
So I was born in beautiful Oroville, California.
All right.
I was raised in Biggs my whole life. I think I got to Biggs in second grade and graduated from Biggs High.
Okay.
So, bleed green for life.
There you go. What year did you graduate, Pete?
So I graduated with Brennan in 2016.
2016, and if you don't know who Brennan is my eldest son, which was one of Pete's best friends, and still is. Yes. And so I know a lot about Pete growing up. I coached him on the football side, and we just had a lot of good times together back in the day. And so, Pete, you get done with Biggs, and where do you go after high school?
So after Biggs, we had a new counselor in, and I was very big in the livestock. I would bug boys. Normal kids on the not normal, but most kids in high school, we'd go to the library and look up, games or, just mess around in school.
Yeah.
And I was looking up boars, bulls, cells, pigs, like just the weird kid. And I met Miss Aldridge, and she came in at the perfect time. She just started. That was her first year, and she is a MJC alum. She went there, graduated, and she got me into their internship program. So MJC's ag program is probably one of the best in California, especially for junior college. I mean, there's not one that compares. So she got me on there, and it was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to me. I mean, you knew me growing up.
Sure.
School never came easy, and I think John Mendez, he rode me pretty hard, so I think I left there with like a 3.2.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we go back. I remember my freshman year, I think it was like homecoming or something. They came and talked to us and told us we didn't make grades or something. So, school, I don't think it was something that – it didn't come hard to me.
Yeah.
I just was so busy not doing not doing schoolwork and focusing on other non-important things.
Extracurricular activities.
Exactly.
Well, Pete, so you say MJ, what's that stand for?
Modesto Junior College.
Oh,
down
okay.
Here in Modesto.
Okay. And so is Hickman near Modesto?
So, kind of a wild story. I went to Modesto, was going to get my animal science degree,
Uh-huh.
and I met this girl. She was sitting right in front of me, and she ended up being from Hickman. So I started dating her, I think, my freshman year,
Okay.
second semester. Met her, and then we've been together ever since, and that's where her family's from. And they have some farmland out here, so they gave her a house, and we've been together for a while.
Now,
that's why I ended up in Hickman.
So Hickman, how far is that from Modesto, Pete?
So Hickman is about 30 minutes east.
East.
Of Modesto.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a little town. I mean,
is it in the mountains or is it still down in the valley?
It's still down in the valley.
Okay.
I think we have one post office here. We
Gotcha.
got 2 gas stations, a tire shop, and a taco truck.
All right.
And a school.
All you need is a taco truck.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's one of the best around here, probably.
So I kind of, like I normally do on my interviews, I kind of jumped ahead and forgot to ask you how many brothers and sisters, and do you have a mom and dad?
Yes. My mom and dad, they used to tell me they were young, so because I'd get pretty mad with them. So I have 5 younger siblings.
Okay.
One's 21. That's Augustine. And then I got Manuel. He's 14.
Okay.
And then I got 2 younger sisters, 5 and 7. And then I got a 2-year-old.
Wow.
Yeah. It's wild, but.
So you got them from all ranges.
Yeah. They had me when I was 18. So.
All right.
So.
Okay.
I guess.
And they live in Biggs, I assume, Pedro?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. They live in Biggs, and I'd never in a million years would have thought I would not live in Biggs. I love that town, and I love everything about it. My best friends and the best people around are still there to this day.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, I'm sure you can make home wherever you go, but it is nice here. You're right.
Oh, I love it.
Well,
I always tell Kendra, I was like, hopefully one day we can settle down and raise my kids in Biggs, but the way this is looking, I don't know if I ever get down there again or up there.
Up there again. So who is your girlfriend, and what does she do, Pedro?
So Kendra has been the lucky one that's been by my side for the past 6 years.
That's what I say about Amy too, Pete.
Right? They're lucky. So she works at our vet. It's called Mid-Valley Large Animal Services. They're probably one of the best vets around here. They have one doctor specific that works on pigs, and she is unbelievable.
She's the bomb.
So, I mean, it's because like I was telling you guys, finding someone up north, because her name's Doctor now, and she works at Arnold Walter, small towns, like all the big firms around here.
Uh-huh.
And there's no one else like her, and Kendra works there, so it keeps her pretty busy. But she's still going to school and wants to finish that up, but life happens.
Gotcha. You have a need, I guess, you go to college down there, and then you decide that you like the pig arena. And why, Pedro? How did that come about?
It's one of them things since I was actually talking to Brennan and Kurt about this the other day on our drive. It all started with you guys and Jake and Cheryl, and I remember getting my first pig 7th grade. I think it was 2012. I've always loved animals, and I remember I used to nag on my parents, hey, I want to go to the fair just so I can go look at the livestock part of it. And
yeah.
As soon as I could, and had because I was raised in town.
Sure.
And all my uncles and family, they all had businesses and lived out of town, but that's where I was raised. I never had the ability to raise livestock even if I wanted. So as soon as I could, I talked to Chuck at the time, and I started raising them at the school barn when I was I think going in seventh, eighth grade.
Okay.
Honestly, that's all I could do. I remember waking up, I'd go feed, I'd get out of school or football practice, and I'd just go feed, and I just have always loved it.
Okay.
It did so good for me because I wasn't like a struggling kid, but like it was one of those things, like it kept me so busy I couldn't get into trouble.
Well,
So
that's
I
good.
just
So when you were in high school, did you just do pigs or did you do other things?
So actually, I was pretty blessed with the people that I've met along my journey in this livestock deal in life. Some of the best people in this industry and in my life. I actually met the Reeses. They're a big family in Gridley, California. I think my sophomore year, end of freshman year, they showed cattle. They raised really good, high competitive Charolais cattle.
Okay.
I met them, and they just took me in as one of them, and I started showing sheep actually at jackpots. So I would work for them, and they would pay for my entries, and I'd just go showing with them. I'd help them at shows, loading tack, unloading tack, washing heifers, blowing heifers, just anything just to go to a show and enjoy it and live the dream that I've always thought was just the greatest thing. And they actually got me involved in this, like the whole jackpots every weekend, national shows, and they kind of just brought me into their world. And then I was 6 foot. I always tell people I'm 6'1". I really don't know, but I was too big to show sheep.
Too big to show sheep, so you got to be
Too
a smaller
tall.
person.
Well, like if you look at, and it probably just sounds like an excuse more than anything, but I was struggling. Like I'd go and try to brace them, and like they just wouldn't look good, or they look awkward because I'm so,
Uh-huh.
I was so stout, I would say,
Well, yeah.
And so then one day we were at a show, and I had a pretty good ewe lamb from some big farm out of state, and Jaime Sanchez goes, Pete, you better stick to pigs. So ever since then, I didn't touch a single sheep, and I just started try to master it. And I didn't master it. I look back at pictures and videos. I'm like, oh my God, I thought I had an idea of what a decent one's supposed to look like, or what the judges wanted. I remember going to fair and just maybe winning the class, being third, or never getting along as my brother does. My little brother's been doing pretty good. We kind of have a better idea now. Eli
Sure
shapes me up and kind of makes sure I stay on the straight and narrow.
Well, you talked about jackpots, Pete. Now, I've always wondered what a jackpot is. If you could explain that and what, when you do those, like give us a rundown of what a jackpot is.
So the awesome thing about California is from January till about August.
Okay.
There's shows about every weekend all over, from Oregon to Arizona to Washington, like just everywhere you can think of.
Okay.
So most of the family, like they have a point series here in California, and it all gets evaluated on like how you do at most shows, what your animals have done, and then you get awards at the end of the year and stuff like that. But right now, as a breeder, we go to, like, I don't think we missed a show all year. So from January till now, we really don't have a life, and then we still have a whole pig farm to run, so it gets tough.
So when you go to a jackpot, so is this almost like, it sounds like a NASCAR thing, right? Where you get points and everything else?
It's like one of them deals. So most jackpots, you move in Friday. So you move in Friday, you have weights Friday, you have to declare weights Friday. So then Saturday morning is the market show, and then Sunday's the breeding show, or vice versa, or there's showmanship. And it all just depends on who's hosting the show, who's running it, how it's ran. And it ends, it's like a 2-day deal. So basically, yeah.
Okay.
Basically hurry up and go, and then it all ends in like 5 minutes. So you're just chasing glory for like 2 minutes.
So this sounds like almost like a travel ball for pigs.
Pretty well, yeah.
Right?
You're expensive travel ball.
So, what does it cost to do a jackpot, and what can you stand to gain from winning at a jackpot?
So, like for us, our biggest thing is, as breeders, we really want to get our name out there and just we're kind of like the young bucks on the block.
Okay.
Eli and I are we're surrounded by our our biggest mentors and influences in this deal, and our biggest thing is like we want to go out to shows and just kind of show everyone like, hey, we're here, like we want to play ball and just kind of showcase our stuff, our genetics, our pedigrees.
Okay.
It's basically like it's like the same thing, like we go to fairs, right? You go to fairs and this kid works harder than that kid. It's not really, a lot of it now isn't. It's got a lot to do with, we've talked before, like, that pig was this much dollars, but if you aren't doing the work at home, it ain't gonna matter. Like at a jackpot, it ain't like county fairs.
Okay.
Like these pigs are trained, like they're athletes. Skin and hair is on point. These things can roll for a mile. They drive with their heads up, and these kids are flat good.
So when you go to a jackpot, Pedro, it's like the county fair where you have the market show and then you have the showmanship show. Do you do both of those in a jackpot?
Yep.
So you do.
Yep.
So a lot of these kids if they're doing jackpots, they're getting a lot of good experience before the fair comes.
Yeah, that's why like you go to like our county fairs. Our county fairs are always stacked, and they're not really stacked. I say stacked because I thought our county fair was tough for the longest time. But you come here to Stanislaus County, which is my new county, and then you got all the breeders' kids here. So all the breeders' kids are unreal on the whip, and they're driving better than some high schoolers. So like on our county fair, right? It was always Benedicts. They were always in the mix of things. But they were
Sure.
At one point they were hitting it harder, going to jackpots, and we weren't showing like that. They were showing with their pigs driving, head up, and just good speed and
another level.
Like that. Exactly. And that's what jackpots are, is they're just more practice and just like, let's showcase our animals, and it's a whole different world.
So when you go to a jackpot, Pedro, now county fairs, if those of you don't know who are listening, when you go to a county fair with an animal, that animal doesn't leave there with you unless it's a breeder animal, which is really rare for most kids. It's a market animal, meaning that when you go to the county fair and you sell that or you show that animal, then it gets judged, and then you're in usually a market ready class, and you go to the auction on Saturday, and then you part ways with the animal. But at a jackpot, that's not the way it works, correct, Pedro?
Yep. So there is national shows. Like we're getting geared up right now. We're selling pigs and feeding pigs for Arizona Nationals. Arizona Nationals is at literally the day after Christmas.
Oh. So
we get on the road to Arizona, I think December 27th. And then we don't get back till like the 31st or spend New Year's there. So that show, your Grand and Reserve barrow, they sell like to market, and then your Champion and Reserve gilts. And I think they have like 20 gilts they put through the sale. And then there's breeders that go and buy them, or, you start spreading genetics, and that's just a better way for everything to get better, and animals, and to just every year constantly make them better.
Well, Pedro, when you said they go to market, you mean they go to slaughter, or they just go for breeding?
No, they go. So they have a market show, and then at these big majors they have market shows, and then they have breeding shows. So then the breeding shows, they have like the top 20 gilts.
Okay.
They have like not a private sale, but like a big gilt sale. And then people register to bid, and you can buy any animal you want.
And when these guys are buying these animals, Pedro, I assume they're buying them for breeding purposes, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
But market hogs, no.
What is the average price you've seen for some of these?
So these gilts, I think last year, gilt I was raised in Yuba City went for like $21,000.
21,000.
She sold to Texas. Yeah, no, these animals can get high. I mean, it's just like anything. You got to pay to play, and if you want the good ones, you're gonna pay the price.
Yeah. So you go there and you're trying to look to build your
exactly
your pig line.
We We put a Duroc in the cell. She brought 7,000, but it's like out of one of our key females. So we bought her back, and then we bought the reserve York there for like $500. It just depends on the pig and depends on what the person's looking for. And it's kind of a neat deal. It's an expensive deal.
Now,
no doubt.
You talk, Pedro, about your this other guy Eli. So give me a background on Eli and how you guys met.
So Eli, I met him at Modesto. So I met him, I think it was 2017.
Okay.
This kid he's had lots of success from a young age all over the country. I think he won state fair a couple times. He was reserve. And then he went to World Pork Expo with the big dogs, and he had like third overall pure barrow. And he's just my best friend, and we just it was kind of a trial and error. So when I first met him, he's really tied in. James Backman at Small Town Genetics, grew up with him. That was his like mentor growing up. And we went to his cell, and it was Manuel's first year. So I ended up buying a little blue barrel from.
And Manuel's your brother.
Yeah, Manuel's my younger brother, my pride and joy. Like, I do it all for him. And him and I was already at the unit, so I was, you can have the pigs. You got to have the pigs at home for 60 days. So we took him to the school farm, and me and Eli were the ones feeding on him and stuff like that. And he ended up winning champion 4-H. So I'm like, oh, like this kid's legit. So
yeah,
me and him have just been tight. Like, we've always just been best friends. We're just like, hey, why don't we just start raising these things? Because his family has a really nice show pig facility.
So he was doing this before he met you, type of thing, or was he just?
No, not he was just going and competing at like national shows and going to jackpots every weekend, but he was never breeding.
Okay, so both of you are strangers to breeding. Then you don't know how to do it. You just know that you want to.
In a sense, because when I was at Modesto, I was an intern there for the swine unit, so I was a herdsman there. So for 2 years, I ran that unit.
Okay.
And most of my it sounds bad, but a lot of trial and error. I learned a lot. I gained a lot. I learned what not to do, what to do.
Sure.
So we both kind of have a pretty good idea on breeding them. And like he was raising them longer than I was when he was younger. He was a James breeding sows, and James, I think they run about 350 sows. So he's bred a few in his day. Now,
did his parents know this stuff, or was this something he just did all by himself when he was by himself in high school?
No, his parents were full support. They built him they used to run like 50 to 60 show pigs a year, I believe. Like just full production. Like, imagine the big school barn.
Yeah.
On crack. Like you've seen the place. Like,
yeah.
Pig, like really nice pig pens everywhere, and they competed. Like, that was his sport. Like, me and Brennan and we all played sports and stuff. I think Eli played football for 2 or 3 years, and then he just showed all year, every show.
So, Pete, going back to the jackpot ordeal, when you go to a jackpot with a hog, and are they like the same amount of weight of the hogs that we take to the fair when they're ready?
No. So at jackpots, you have divisions. So you got Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, and then you got prospects, and then like your middleweights and your heavyweights, and then so you weigh and they all get broke. And then most shows, like even some county fairs, I don't know why we haven't switched this at our county. It'd help a lot, but I guess we do have a problem with big numbers already. They do breed.
Oh.
So we have the Duroc division, the Burke division. So then in those Durocs, you got the prospects out of the little young ones, and you got the middleweights, and then you got the heavyweights, and then champion of those, and you go against all the purebreds, and then it's kind of a neat thing, and it's really good because, these kids, they eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff, and it shows their animals are always well presented and presented at the highest level. In California, our animals out here no slouches. The pigs are getting better. Everything's getting better in every species.
Yeah, because Pete, when I was younger, if you wanted a good pig, you had to go to the Midwest, right?
Yeah.
That was what it was always said. Oh, if you can get them from Nebraska or wherever, in the mid states. But I guess that's starting to change.
Yeah, no, I mean, it just depends who you talk to. Some of the, like Aunt Walter down the road, I worked for them for a summer at, once I was done with MJC. And I mean, I think that summer they two-holed Denver, in January. Like, it's one of the big shows. That's like where all the big barrel guys go from Texas and Oklahoma, and they two-hold that. So 2 pigs out of California.
Wow.
It just goes with everything. Everything comes in waves. One year California breeds some elite creatures, and then next year these guys from Missouri will breed the good ones, or Texas. Everyone just tries to get better, and sometimes you make the wrong breeding decision. It takes you back a couple months, but you just get back on the scribbling board and kind of get a plan together to make them better again. That's the fun thing about pigs. Pigs only bred for 3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days. So they're in the crates raising their pigs for 3 weeks, and then you wean them. And say you're like, you wean those babies and you put them on chips, and it's time to breed those sows again. You can really evaluate, like, okay, well, this sport didn't help me there, so I got to change this. Well, this sow didn't do what I thought, and it didn't add bone or rib or depth, so I got to do this. So as in cows and all these other species, it's so much harder. If you screw up, like, you're going to pay dividends big time.
Well, now, Pete, these people that you said the jackpot season is quite lengthy, correct?
Yeah.
So you take a pig to the jackpot, and as you go along in your jackpot journey, the pig keeps getting bigger, right? So do you keep different classes every time you go to a jackpot, or?
So most people that hit it hard. So like what we do usually is like our families, like we have a set for county fairs, and then maybe some lease gilts from us, or we'll go find some barrows. And it's almost like a separate thing, like you almost have a jackpot set and then your county fair set.
Okay.
Or you can do both. So for example, it starts in January. Everyone's getting pigs in January. Like your stuff for Chico and Butte would be tiny, but you can still show it all the way up till month before fair.
So you could take a jackpot pig and work it all the way up to the county fair if it was born just right.
Oh yeah. No, and that's the thing now. Our genetics are so clubby, and we're trying to make them so dense and stout that these things are a little bit slower growing. So you can really manage them a little bit different than you probably could back in the day, because you want them square and balanced and functional, but still massive and wide.
To me, you're like a freaking doctor, because you are a scientist, or I don't know what you want to call it, but you said, oh, this pig didn't turn out the way I wanted it, so I got to do this. How do you know what to do to fix this?
Just probably wrecking too many.
Well, I mean, but like, how do you say, well, this pig didn't have the rear end that I wanted, so we got to get, this to fix. So how do you fix that?
Like you said, it's a science, and it's one of them things, like, there's guys that are flat great at it. So that's the thing with me, is I like to push the envelope too much, and like I get them too soggy fat, or I don't let them grow. So like now I got Eli, so now you got 2 minds together. So then me and Eli will look at a video and talk, or he'll be like, hey, do this, or hey, do that, or hey, we got to do this, just based on the pig. Like, so like, for instance, like that, some pigs, like that pig that you have for Butte.
Uh-huh.
That thing as a baby was so stout, and we kind of read him to be kind of taller and bigger frame, and he kind of didn't. So like now we're trying to just shape him up, melt his fat, and kind of make him look the best he can. And that's just like feeding a bunch of pigs and learning proteins and what each products do and what does what. It's just time and pigs, honestly, just putting a bunch of pigs on feed, and we're still trying to figure it out. It's been going okay.
Well, do you have like some sort of a mixture that you have all this stuff written down? Like, okay, if we have a pig that looks like our pig now, we do this. And if we have it look like this, we do this. So are you reinventing the wheel on every pig that you come in contact with?
No, sometimes, and that's the thing. Like Eli writes things down. Like he's got a little notepad. And he just writes things down. I just use my phone. I like to video them because then I look back and then look back at videos and kind of see where we change things and where we're like getting better and stuff like that. But there's some guys that are incredibly great at this, at feeding like an average one to look good. And I have a lot of friends in this industry and I talk to them and they're just like, sometimes like we're trying to overthink it. Like they're animals, So it's just, every pig is fed different. Like, for example, yours, like it was always just big muscled and just needed to be mellowed out.
Yeah.
Okay. So then his litter-mate brother that Harrison's feeding, he needed a lot of muscle and more fat.
Huh.
So that one, we upped his protein and, every pig's different. Just feeding a lot of them and just kind of seeing what feed does. And some pigs don't even change no matter what you do, as hard as you try.
Now, I totally forgot to mention, Pedro, your name for your business. So what is that name?
So everyone calls it J&G Show Pigs. It's just short for Johnson and Gomez Show Pigs.
Okay.
And we're out of Belico, raising them right out of his parents' backyard, actually, right now. So,
but I've been there, Pedro. You were absolutely right earlier. The facility really did shock me when I went there to pick up a pig from you.
It's incredible.
It really is.
Heated floors. It's wild.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a sight to see, and I hope I can get some pictures to put up on the video that I'm gonna. Well, not video, but it's going to be some pictures on YouTube that I got for this show exactly to see, give us an idea of what you have down there, because I was very impressed. And when I went there to pick out the pig with Brady, you had a lot of pigs there, and it really looked like to me, more run than I anticipated. Let's put it that way. Not knocking you. I'm just saying I've never seen it.
I can't knock you. I mean, you see me growing up. So.
No, I don't mean that as I'm just saying I wasn't expecting that. That organization that you had there.
It's been incredibly like the support and the belief people have been having in us. Now we're up to 35 sows. We have 20 keeper gilts that are going to be in production later this year. So we're way busy. Pigs are always coming in and out. We're farrowing.
So Pedro, when you got a pig, you said, when is that pig in heat and when does it give birth and how long does that take to get to a pig that I can bring home to raise for a fair?
So right now, Eli and I both have full-time jobs. He works on his family farm. I work for a construction company. So when we breed sows, it's kind of tough because ideally, like what we'd want to do is, we have a boar on hand. So you'd want to go every day and heat check, make sure everything's going good, or write down what's in heat when it was in heat. But right now, technology is so advanced. We have this stuff called Matrix. So it's like a clear, it's estrogen.
Okay.
So like female, like girls aren't allowed to touch it, nothing like that. So we put them on Matrix for about 14 days or 21 days. And then at the same time for those 21 days, just nights, in their mouth. And then after the 21 days are up, 5 days after that, they come in heat, and then we order semen. So everything's done on clockwork.
So you order the semen. You don't have it naturally bred.
So lately, we've been using our boar. I've just been jumping them on sows and collecting them, and he makes about 12 doses of semen.
Okay. And you collect that semen for later?
Yeah. Just depends on what we need it for, and because when you're breeding pigs, we just got done breeding all our pigs for our state fairs and our county shows in July and August. So we bred about 15. and I jumped him up, and he made 12 doses, and then we bought some semen from a small town. And yeah, you basically, semen's good, depends on where you get it. Semen's good for about a week if you flip it and you have the right cooler, like semen cooler.
So you have to put it in a cooler, and it only lasts
Yep.
for a week, even in a cooler.
Yep.
When you say you jumped him up, what does that mean?
Like almost like a live deal, but instead of, he
It's a
extends
fake
and then-
deal.
Yes.
And so you collect the semen, put it in the refrigerator, and then whenever you're ready to put
I collect the semen, and then like I said before, we work real tight with Small Town Genetics. James does us the favor, and he processes it. He puts it in an extender, and that extender feeds the semen. So then you can, instead of making 4 to 6 doses with just like raw semen, you extend it to make more. And then when we extend it, we put it in semen bottles or little cups, and then we put it in the fridge. And then whenever we go heat check, we just use whatever we had. And then so when we collect semen and use it, it cuts our expense down so much, because right now, like using the hottest boars in the country, last year for our Duroc sow, which is a purebred, we paid $7.50 a dose, and you need 2 doses to get them settled and bred.
So sometimes the one dose won't do it.
Yeah, it's always good to have 2, but it all just depends on the time you caught them in heat. It all just, because typically a sow comes in heat and stands for 2 to 3 days.
How do you know they're in heat, Pedro?
So we run the boars by them, and then typically, like, you put weight on. You almost act like a boar. You put your weight on them, you sit on them, and then they're flaring their ears back and forth, and their vulvas are swollen.
Huh.
But you got to be on it, like, So like we saw Matrix on Monday, so I knew Friday, Saturday, our first ones were going to come in heat. So I knew that night we had to breed, and that was the first day. And it's all just clockwork and like just staying organized and on top of it.
So you get these females bred, they get pregnant, and then how long does it take to get the babies?
So so we expose them, and then 3 weeks after we expose them, whatever one didn't take, they come back in a heat.
Oh.
So if they come back in a heat, then you got to rebreed.
Okay.
So then the ones that do take, you count 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days.
And they're coming.
After that. Yep. So then we usually load them in farrowing crates 5 days prior to their due date. And when they're due, we induce them typically, just because we like being there when they're farrowing, like on the weekend or something. So it's we induce them like early in the morning. We give them a shot, and then they'll have them the next day in the morning.
And how many do they have at one time?
Honestly, I think the smallest litter we've had this far was 4. We've had one have 16.
Oh, man.
So there's a lot of mouths to feed. And
do you have to be there when they're birthing?
You don't have to. All the good ones, they just spit them out. Those are the ones you keep around. The gilts, sometimes you got to be there and help them, push them out. Like, they get them as far as past your vulva, and they're like, their feet are sticking out. You just got to pull, and it's good to be there. Okay. You don't have to be, but
it's good. And then this crate makes it so the mom can't crush them. Is that what it does?
Okay. So a farrowing crate, it helps with the loss of babies. Sows get big; they're 500, 600 pounds.
Oh.
So.
Gotcha. Yeah, that wouldn't do good.
No, if they're out in their own pen, babies would get killed. They wouldn't, they milk them. It works so much better. And it sucks that California is, they're trying to pass that law against all that. And we have to sign all kind of paperwork now whenever the kids go to fair.
Wait a minute, against the law for what, Pedro? Inform us what that is.
For gestation stalls right now. But they're trying to crack down on like the spacing, the spaces that like where the sows live and they're housed at, and just little things, but nothing's been finalized yet.
So they don't want to have farrowing crates. That's the law. Farrowing
crates, gestation stalls, yeah. Huh. Gestation stalls aren't really a big thing around here anymore. More of the Midwest.
I see.
And they're talking about like out of state breeders send pork to California, they had to be certified and make sure they're not raising them in small confinements. And
Gotcha.
it's out of hand.
Well, that was, the farrowing crate seems like it's obvious to me. You're helping the thing not roll over on its babies.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like
that's what you think, but I mean, who knows who's making these laws?
Yeah, that's true. So do you have these pigs then, and then those pigs that come out and make it, then you sell them to whoever for whatever fair, and you kind of time these breeds or these babies to come out, and you're mostly doing it, I assume, Pedro, for fairs. Is that what you do it for?
Fairs, jackpots, nationals. When we were smaller, or not, I mean, we're still small and tiny, but like when we were only running like 10 sows or 5, we were only timing it like for May fairs. We were breeding sows, and because you only have such a tight window. Like now you got to make them a little bit older, just because, like I've said before, like our genetics are clubbier. We're trying to make them, burlier and stouter. So like a small window to breed them. So if they miss and they didn't take, then we'll move them over to the next set. So then those ones will make all our June fair pigs and all our July, August stuff. But right now we're running 35 sows and they're expensive. So right now, like, we're constantly just putting groups together and just breeding and just going to have pigs all year.
Now, you were telling me last time I spoke to you about how much you pay a month in feed. Can you tell me that again? Because I forgot.
So right now it's outrageous. And our semen bill's probably worse, but thankfully it's only, once a month or once every other month. Right now, a pallet of feed, which a pallet holds 40 bags, we're going through a pallet of feed every 8 days, and that's costing us about $800 every 8 days.
Wow. And
right now we kind of slowed down on our show pig feed, but we have all our baby pigs on that we're going to sell for like Arizona and all these other shows, January, February shows, and they are mowing through it. So like I think we're burning. I just picked up feed and I think I only got like 8 bags, and it came out to, so a pound of sow feed and 8 bags was $900, and that'll last me a week.
Now, Pete, what kind of feed do you use, and how do you know what kind of feed to use?
So we our sow feed is a pellet feed we get from Sand Farm Supply that they formulated with the feed mill down here in Turlock. That's works really good, because we built feeders for them, but sometimes the feed will bounce like that mesh. It'll go on the ground and they can't really get it that well. So the pellet works really good. And then like our show pigs and all our baby pigs, they're all on Linder feed.
Linder.
We used to feed show right, and we ventured to Linder, and we just felt like we got the best results with that, and our pigs looked a lot better.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing to me because you will call me or text my wife or something or Brady and say, hey, switch this pound to the 611 versus the 686 and some oats. And, this is, like I said, way different than when I was in high school, where you just put a bag of feed in an automatic feeder and you walked away.
Yeah, no, see, that's how, like, even us in high school, like most kids, at the school barn, they would just fill up the feeder once a week.
Yeah.
Go make weight and sell. But if you want to be good, you got to go the extra mile. Like
you do. You do. And that's what I have learned over this journey of my 3 boys doing hogs. Well, I always tell you every year, Pete, that you're looking at the grand champion, right? I always tell you that.
But I'll never forget that red pig you had that actually had a shot at doing something. And I mean, what were you feeding it? I forget.
Tomatoes.
Yeah. And I was dying because you were so serious.
Well, I think he was getting a little heavy, and so we were like, what do we feed him? Because he's mad, he's hungry. So we thought, well, let's give him some tomatoes. That ain't going to put no weight on him. And he gobbled those suckers up, man. He would eat them up. But no, I kind of learned from you, to kind of stick with, I throw him a tomato once in a while just for a treat, but nothing like I used to, where I'd fill up the bucket, you know. But I just have been amazed, like I said, over these years of watching all of the people that I know, like you mentioned, that do really well every year and every fair, and kind of see what they do and how you have grown and helped us to get where we're at. And then this year at the Silver Dollar Fair, to have your pig take grand champion was something else.
Oh yeah, no, it was. It's been a long time coming, and I was ecstatic. It was unreal and awesome. That's why I always tell Eli, because Eli, he's won big shows and jackpots. I'm like, dude, you don't understand. Like, this county means so much to me, because I was that kid that I'd go to fair, thought I had a good pig, and it was just this fat toad and bow-legged, and I thought it was great. And I was like, dude, we gotta do good. And that pig just did the right things, and
he did.
We were very fortunate, and he turned into a little man-child. That thing was special. My brother's pig that was there last year, I thought he was pretty special, but then this pig came along, and I mean, that pig, I remember Jennifer Job called me. She goes, hey, like, this pig's breathing funny. It can't, I don't know how it's going to do in the ring. And that thing was floating in the ring. It was just running around. I was like, oh my God.
It did way better than anticipated because of that. You're right. Now,
because in showmanship, because they use it for show. She's like, hey, Thomas wants to really do showmanship. I'm like, hey, we came here to win a fair. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, everything will be fine. Just water the pig. And I went up to the stand just to watch the show for a little bit and sit down, because I've been up the whole day just feeding and getting them right and washing them. And I see him in showmanship. I'm like, no way. I was like, come on. I was like, I hope this just didn't ruin our whole shop. But thankfully, that pig was ready. He could go for run a marathon.
Yeah, it was. And just for the viewers or the listeners out there, this was not a cool day. It was hot. And it was a real challenge to get these pigs to cooperate, because we were after the 4-H, so we had the afternoon shift.
Yeah, it was so hot. I was so nervous.
Yep.
I mean, you can ask Jennifer. I panicked. I was like, oh my God, like, we're done.
Yeah.
And that pig just turned it on. He's like, I want more.
He did. No,
it was awesome.
So if you could just tell us, Pete, what do you think the perfect pig looks like? Like, can you describe it the way some of these judges describe it, which always fascinates me?
So there's no perfect pig yet. We all that's what makes it so fun, is we all like them a little bit different. We all are single train or favorite one thing more than the others. Like even me and Eli, sometimes we disagree on some, and some of them were just like, oh my God, that's the one. It just, like the biggest thing, one of my livestock judging teachers taught me this my freshman year at MJC. She said, you got to think of these things as humans. You can't get when you're picking them as babies, you can't get one that's ripped up and wide chested and hind legs are fat, but they're outside of the skeleton, and it's, you got to think of it as a human, like a bodybuilder. Like, it looked dysfunctional and not balanced.
Gotcha.
So like when we're looking at baby pigs, like, we start at the ground. Feet and legs are everything. That's your structure. That's your foundation. Without that, it don't matter how great anything else is. So we start with feet and legs, toes pointing forward, hind legs square, big, and then just going north and south, sound as a cat, like we say.
What when you look at a pig, Pedro, you want the shoulders and the butt to basically be in a line, so that therefore everything else fills in the middle. You don't want an hourglass shaped type pig, right?
Exactly. You want it to be balanced and proportion.
Okay.
And then, like, now we want them so dense and big heads, big chest, big legs, and big backs. So, but that's what I think drives us so much, is you don't know that pig's gonna look like that when it's a baby.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so weird on genetics and like what boars are, what boar it's out of and what it's gonna do, how it's gonna feed. Like that's why it's fun, I think.
Well,
But
yeah,
like me, like I'm a sucker for like just one that's sexy from the side, tall fronted, long necked, fat legs,
yeah,
and just square and
a
sound.
true hammer.
Oh, just a hammer. Like almost that barrel at Chico, almost like that, but just like a better hind leg. Like that's my dream pig. That thing was awesome.
Well, Pedro, do you have a website that people can get a hold of you if they want to purchase pigs from you?
So right now we just have a Facebook page.
Facebook page.
And you can find under J&G Show Pigs.
J&G Show Pigs.
Yes, sir.
And that would
And then
be Johnson and Gomez Show Pigs.
Yep. And then our phone numbers are listed there. I mean, if I can give it out if you'd like, but yeah, our Facebook page is rolling and we keep up on it pretty good. So.
Okay. So that would be the best way to contact you. Pedro,
Yeah.
Do you have anything else that I may have not asked that you wanted to add to this interview?
I think we need to promote ag and the livestock industry a little bit more because it really does do a lot for. I know we get ahead of ourselves as breeders on like raising better animals and stuff like that, but in all reality, we're just making better kids and teaching them responsibility and work ethic and hard work.
I agree with you, Pedro, but most people think you just go to the store and buy food. You don't have to raise anything.
And that's where I think us as an ag industry we needed to do better at.
Yeah,
because we do a lot more than seen and
exactly. People really, I mean, a lot of young people really think that food comes in a store and it doesn't come anywhere else. And I agree, the growth I've seen in you boys when you guys were in the, 4-H and FFA and, hey, I would get on you guys. You got to clean these pens. You got to make sure they got water. You got to, I mean, this is an animal. This is not a dirt bike you can put in the shed and not look at it.
Exactly. And it's one of those things, just like I remember football practice or, when Paul would make us do them freaking long, what is it, wind sprints?
OTIs.
Oh my God. You hated them, but you look back and you were thankful for it. And I remember boys would he would drag on me like hard at fairs. Hey, clean your pen, make sure your pig looks and I would be like, dude, what is wrong with this guy? Like he hates me, but
yep.
It just makes you better.
It does. It makes you think about something more than yourself, and that's the biggest problem I think in this country.
Exactly, and I think we need more of that and the work.
Yes.
Like, there's kids like the younger generation. Like I was talking to Brandon, I was like, because he's got Brady, I got Manuel. I'm like, dude, these kids have no idea.
They don't. They need a stronger work ethic, and that definitely helps when you have to take care of a living, breathing thing.
Oh yeah, no, it's awesome. It'd be wild. It's wild how just an animal can do so much for your life, and
yeah,
it's mind blowing. But
well, yeah, Pedro, I thank you immensely for being on my show. And again, it's Johnson and Gomez on Facebook. You can look them up and you can get a hold of Pedro. You could get a pig from him. I'm telling you right now, ladies and gentlemen, he has fine stock. Like I said, the last fair we had was Silver Dollar, and his pig in our Bigs FFA group took grand champion of that fair. And that is definitely no easy task that was accomplished, and I think it's just the beginning for Johnson and Gomez. I really think they got something going on. And the biggest reason I say this is I'm not sure a lot of breeders out there care as much about what they put out, and not just the fact that they want to make a name for themselves, but they actually care about the animals. And when I went down there to get that pig, I found out firsthand that they do care about the animals and raise them in a humane and appropriate manner. And I just think you guys are on your way to big time status, which kind of is an unfortunate thing to me, Pedro, because that means you might not be up here for a while.
I know, and that's where I was. That's where my family always asks, "Hey, you don't come visit?" I'm like, "Hey, I don't. I wish I had the time. I'd love to come up, or I'd want to go on a vacay or do something." But I said this is taking our time. But
yeah,
like I always tell people, you take one day off and it feels like you took the week off.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's been a fun ride, and I am very excited to see where we end up and keep on trucking and just keep on raising them and keep on having great families like you guys to make us look good.
Well, I appreciate it, Pedro. Thank you for joining us or joining me on this show, and you have a great and blessed day, my friend.
Hey, thank you, Travis. I really appreciate it.
All right, buddy.
Have a good one.
Take it easy. So that was Pedro Gomez on the line from Johnson and Gomez. They raise their pigs down there by the Modesto area, and you can get a hold of them on Facebook, Johnson and Gomez on Facebook. Just to let you know, we do have email for the show. It is travis@frontrowchaos.com. And you can email the show with any ideas, comments, anything you'd like. You can go ahead and email me, and I will try to get back to you. Or if you have show comments and you want to hear something me to talk about or anything like that, you can definitely do that now. And you can go to my website, frontrowchaos.com. And you can, again, also email me at travis@frontrowchaos.com. We will have a YouTube channel also, like I mentioned before. And you can go on there. I'm going to have the podcast on the podcast networks, your Spotify, your Google Play, your Apple Podcast. All the normal podcasts will carry my show. And you can also go on to YouTube and search Front Row Chaos. That's my channel. And I'm going to have on there this interview that we did, but I'm going to have pictures of Pete's operation, some hog video, different things like that on that channel, so you can watch that if you'd like and listen to the show through YouTube. Please hit the subscribe button when you're on YouTube. It'll greatly help me. It costs you nothing to subscribe, so that's absolutely free. And if you could subscribe also or follow me when you're on your podcast, whatever network you use, Spotify or Apple or any of those, if you'd follow me, then you'll know when a new show drops. I just thank you again for listening to this show. We just hit the 1,500 download mark, so I can't thank you enough for doing that for me, and you have a great and blessed day, and we'll see you next week on Front Row Chaos.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.